Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video here, I'm going to show you how to create pivot tables and pivot charts in Microsoft 365 Excel. First one, I will show you the pivot tables. Well, what is the purpose of pivot tables? The purpose of pivot tables is to offer user-friendly ways to quickly summarize large amounts of data. They can be used to better understand, display, and analyze numerical data in detail. And with this information, you can help identify and answer anticipated questions surrounding the data. So in the first minutes of this video, I will show you on how you can create a pivot table on your Microsoft 365 Excel. So step 1, we're going to enter your data into range of rows and columns. So every pivot table in Excel starts with a basic Excel table where all your data is housed. To create this table, simply enter your values into a set of rows and columns like the example below. So here we have a list of people, their educational level, and their marital status. With a pivot table, I could find out several pieces of information. I could find out how many people with master's degrees are married, for instance. At this point, you'll want to have a goal for a pivot table. What kind of information are you trying to glean by manipulating this data? What would you like to learn? So this will help you design your pivot table in the next few steps. Now step 2, insert your pivot table. So inserting your pivot table is actually the easiest part. You just need to highlight the data that you want to create a table. For example, from here, and then go to the Insert tab right there at the top left of your screen, and then select the pivot table here. And we have also recommended pivot tables, and we have simple table. Now, if we are going to select recommended pivot tables, as you can see, it will basically show you the recommended pivot tables that the Excel gave. So you can definitely use it automatically. Or if you want to create a custom pivot table, just need to click on the pivot table at the top left. Now, once you click on this option, it will show you this one. So just click on from table or range. So click this one here, and then an option pops up. So if you're using an earlier version of Excel, pivot tables may be under tables or data along the top navigation rather than insert. A dialog box will come up confirming the selected dataset and giving you the option to import data from an external source. It will also ask you where you want to place your pivot table. Now, I recommend you using a new worksheet. Now here, as you can see on the options, we have some options that you can basically select a table or range right here, and then you can basically choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. So you typically won't have to edit the options unless you want to change your selected table and change the location of your pivot table. Now, once you've double checked everything and you want to try this one, just click on the OK button at the bottom right. And as you can see, you will then get an empty result like this. Now, this is where it gets a little confusing and where I used to stop as a beginner because I was so thrown off. We'll be editing the pivot table fields next so that the table is rendered. Now we will go to the step 3, edit your pivot table fields. You now have the skeleton of your pivot table and it's time to flesh it out. After you click OK, you will see a panel to edit your pivot table fields right here at the right side of your screen. This can be a bit confusing to look at it if this is your first time. And this panel, you can take any of your existing table fields. For example, it will be like first name, last name, education, and marital status, and turn them into one of our fields. Now the first field here is filter. This turns your chosen field into a filter at the top, by which you can segment data. For instance, below, I've chosen to filter my pivot table by education. Right, so you just need to drag and drop. For example, you can drag and drop the filter here on the first name, or we can basically just choose the filter which is education. So you just need to drag and drop again back to the original place at the top. And then we're going to select education and put it on the filter. So it works just like a normal filter or data splicer. Next, we have the column. This turns your chosen field into vertical columns in your pivot table. For instance, in the example below, I've made the columns marital status. So keep in mind that the field's values themselves are turned into columns and not the original field title. Here, the columns are married and single. Now, next one is the row section. Here in the row, as you can see at the bottom left, here this turns your chosen field into horizontal rows in your pivot table. For instance, here what it looks like when the education, for example, or education field is set to be the rows, right? So we're going to use the education and drag here on the rows. And we can basically remove the last name and first name. So there you have it. Now we can remove that one. There you go. Next, we have the value. Now, this turns your chosen field into the values that populate the table, giving you the data to summarize or analyze. So values can be average, summed, counted, and more. And for instance, in the below example, the values are a count of the field first name, telling me which people across which educational levels are either married or single. So as you can see, here is the results on your screen. Now we're going to the step 4, analyze your pivot table. Once you have your pivot table, it's time to answer the question you posed for yourself at the beginning. What information we're trying to learn by manipulating the data? Now, with this example, I wanted to know how many people are married or single across educational levels. I therefore made the columns marital status, the row education, and the values first name. Values can be summed, averaged, or otherwise calculated if they're numbers, but the first name field is text. The table automatically set it to count, as you can see, which meant it counted the number of first names matching each category, and it resulted in the sample right over here. Now here, I've learned that across doctoral, secondary, master, primary, and upper secondary educational levels, this number of people are married or single. For example, the doctoral has 1 married and 2 single. The master has 1 married and 3 singles. And upper secondary is 3 marrieds and 1 single. Now, once we have just created the pivot table, now we're going to create a pivot charts in our Excel. Now, what is a pivot chart? Pivot chart is a dynamic visualization tool that works together with Excel pivot tables. So while pivot tables provide a way to summarize and analyze large data sets, pivot charts offer a graphical representation of that summarized data, making trends and patterns easier to spot. So the beauty of pivot charts lies in their interactivity and flexibility. Like pivot tables, pivot charts are dynamic, meaning they can be easily manipulated to display different aspects of the data. So before you start creating a pivot chart, it's important to make sure your data is well organized and structured. Each column should represent a different variable or category, and each row should contain a unique record. So don't forget to remove any blank rows or columns and double check your data for errors or inconsistencies. Now, as you can see, if you already have a pivot table set up, here's how you can easily create a graph for it. First one, you can just basically select any cell within your pivot table, then navigate to the Insert tab at the top left on the Excel ribbon and click on the Pivot Chart button. So basically, it will show you or find it right over here. And once you click on this one, once you click on Pivot Chart, as you can see, a dialog box appears, shows the type of graph you want to create. And here are the some of the type here. We have the columns, we have line, pie, bar, area, scatter, map, stock, surface, radar, tree map, sunburst, histogram, box and whisker, waterfall, funnel, and combo. Now each type of graph has a different variants, like this shuttered, stacked, 100% stacked, 3D clustered, 3D stacked, 3D 100% stacked, and 3D column, or 3D. Now, I want to recommend you these four graph or type of graph. First one is bar charts. This is ideal for comparing values across different categories or time periods. We have line charts, works well for illustrating trends over time or continuous data series. We have also the pie charts. So as you can see here, so this is effective for showing the proportion of each category in a data set. And also we have the scatter plots right from here. So it's useful for visualizing the relationship between two variables and identifying any correlations or patterns. Now here I want to select the pie chart right here and then click on the OK button at the bottom right. So here you will find the visual in the same worksheet next to your pivot table. You can basically move it to a different location by dragging and changing its size using the resize handle, just as you would with any other graph in Excel. So as you can see, you can drag and drop, or you can basically click on the corners to resize your graph. So like this, if you want to make it smaller or a larger graph. Now the next one here is on how you can filter a pivot chart in Excel. So actually by default, a pivot chart comes with a filter at the bottom, allowing you to filter the access data categories. And in some cases, an additional filter may be available on the right side for the legend. So if you're going here on the right side, you'll find the legend and enabling you here to hide or show different data series. So click on drop down menu. You can basically show only the doctoral, you can show the master, or only the upper secondary like this, or you can select them all. Now to basically add the filters to a pivot chart, follow these steps. Click anywhere within your graph to display the fields panel. Now, drag the desired fields to the filtered area. So for example, this one here, we have some added filter if you want to show only married or single. So again, you can change the marital status to all. So the added filters will appear at the top of the chart. It's important to note that default and custom filters offer different options. The built-in filter automatically included for data categories provides all sorting and filtering options available in Excel. Now, in this case, I'm going to show you now on how you can modify a pivot chart. So pivot charts are not just powerful visualization tools, they are also incredibly flexible, allowing you to tweak nearly every aspect to suit your needs. Now to show you, hide or format graph elements like axes, labels, and legend, simply click the Chart Elements button right from here, the plus sign at the upper right corner of the graph. So you can basically change the chart elements if you want to show the chart title, if you want to change the position of the chart title, if you want it centered right here, or if you want to just put it back at the top or above chart right here. So you can basically use these chart elements. And for changing the chart style, you just have to click on the style icon at the upper right corner and choose from various predefined styles. So here you can basically use different predefined styles that you want for your graph. For example, just hover your mouse and it will automatically preview the graph. Now you can see we have 9 or 10 styles that you can choose from. In this case, I'm going to select this one here, style 8. So as you can see, we have the different style. Now for more option to adjust color or maybe the styles, explore the design and format tabs on the ribbon. So these tabs offer additional settings and tools to fine-tune your pivot chart to perfection. So you can change the shape fill, shape outline, the shape styles that you want to your graph. Now to basically change your pivot chart type, you can basically click anywhere on the graph or within your graph to activate the pivot chart tabs on the ribbon. So as you can see here, if we're going to click this chart, and here you will find a option at the top, and you can basically click on this change chart type in the type group. Once you click on this one, you can basically select the desired chart type from the options provided. For example, I want to change it into a column, and once done, click on OK button. So in these simple steps, you can quickly change the appearance of your pivot graph to better suit your data visualization goals. So as you can see here on this tutorial, it helps you to create the pivot tables and pivot charts on Microsoft 365 Excel. So just thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you on the next one.